I've planted some lilacs, transplanted them. Right now they're going through a little shock, so I'm going to show you how to water them with a 5-gallon bucket drip. Not really a system, just dripping them. So I have my bucket staged where I want them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to number them, and then I'm going to drill some holes either in the side or in the bottom, depending on if there's plastic underneath the rock or not. And then I'll show you how they're basically just going to water themselves over time. So I've marked them all, and what I'm going to do is, most everybody will have some type of drill bit. What I'm going to be using is either the 1/16 or the 5/64, and what I'll do is compare that to your ruler. If you don't know how big that is, there is standard, and there is metric. So it's a pretty small drill bit. Here's the drill bit compared to the tip of a pen if you don't have a measuring device or anything like that. The goal isn't to make this isn't to make it a smaller hole so it drips over time. So that's about the size I'm going to be using. For my purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in the side of my bucket. I marked it with a permanent marker just to keep it easy because I have a bunch of buckets down the run here. But what some people can do, depending on your situation, what I have is plastic and rock, so I can't really put a hole in the middle. But what you can do is you can grind that down if you want, or put a hole in the sides or whatever. And then if you are open field where you can just put it on the dirt or on the grass and then just let it trickle straight down through the middle, you could do that. But for my purpose, I'm drilling on the side, and I'm gonna let gravity help me out as I fill this bucket to the top. The water is gonna, for lack of a better term, just kind of pee on the bush over time. Once again, I'm using that 5/64 bit, and all I'm gonna do is just drill a hole right on that mark. So I got my hole drilled, pretty simple. Put my bucket where I want it. I kind of have it tilted at an angle so it kind of flows down, and then I'm going to do that with the rest of the buckets on this little run here, and then we'll fill them all up and see how they run. Good. So I'll just show you. It's pretty simple to drill these holes. That's it. Alright, all my buckets are drilled. Run the hose and see how the flow comes out. And if I need to put a second hole, I could put a second hole. Even a third hole, I could put a third hole. I don't want the water to run out too fast. So we'll see how the flow goes, and then we'll decide if we need to do more holes or not. Running the hose. Got my worker bees out there. Ready? Alright. Let's go check the flow out. Filling up the bucket. It's got good flow. You put more holes in here, obviously, as the bucket gets more full, it's going to be more pressure, so it's going to push out that water faster. And then, yeah, it's just an easy way to trickle water into plants. If you put that hole straight underneath the bottom, obviously the trickle is a little less. If you make a smaller hole, it's a little less, so you can have extended watering over time. And we'll run the hose to the other buckets. Here's bucket number 2. Might have to prop up a rock on that one. It seems like it's kind of angling back away from the plant. I've seen a lot of things where you can actually put a hose system and run it to multiple plants. I want a little bit more water than that. We're in the middle of July and it's hot, so I want to keep the ground moist a little longer than normal. This is an easier and cheaper way to do it versus buying the hose system and running a little more in-depth process. I could see the the advantages and disadvantages to both. So I guess it's up to you doing what you need to do for what you got. Alright, so we deal with a lot of wind. So what I'm going to do is, in the rocks here, I have some bigger, more ornamental rocks. Once we get done filling the buckets along this whole fence line, the water level will drop down by then. And I'll take one of these big rocks and just throw it in the bottom of the bucket. That way it'll at least weight the bucket down and keep them from blowing too far, if they do blow. Alright, filling up our last bucket. It's been 2 or 3 minutes since we started filling. They all have some good flow to them. That one you can't see very well. It's kind of buried in there. Some of these, since they're touching the dirt, they might shift, so I might have to build them up a little bit with rock where the plastic is. And that's about it. I don't make many YouTube videos. This is our cheaper, kind of easier alternative to these tree bags. And then, yeah, it's just a little cheaper, a little easier. We can pick the buckets up easily, walk them back to the faucet. And yeah, if this is something you guys would be interested in, it would be an easy way to do it. Thanks.